Yeah, but I like.
I got.
It's just for you, right?
Hilarious story.
I don't know. We'll see if there's one person.
Structure to addition and remodel, just to move towards it.
God, it looks like Christmas.
I went in and said, okay, I'm here to do it. What do you do? And she laughed, she said, well,
Same thing.
yeah, this is
You
what you
guys
need
look
to
like,
change.
Cassie said you look like Christmas. Said, yeah, you just need a Santa Claus beard. You guys look good.
I'd say Grinch is in the middle.
Grinch is in the middle. Okay.
Actually, you're agreeing, we can move. Yeah. Oh, no, I don't want that.
Well, of course.
It's my kid.
So the
You
punch
might be
card.
pushing things a little bit with that.
Oh,
no, I mean, of course, I said. Okay, yeah, okay, I think we're saying, well, yeah, it's fine.
Fine. I have to call this meeting to order. 7:00.
All right.
7:01. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Matt Lagira,
I am here.
Jamie Melky.
Here.
John Cops. Here. John Leo. Here. Nancy Rondell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Fantastic. Citizens comment. Anything that's not on the agenda? This is your opportunity.
Just a quick update, Officer Matt Howell's last day was yesterday. Have it posted, we have one applicant so far. We filled a Marine Patrol position. He worked 2 days last week. He's gone this week. We'll be back this coming weekend to be right at it. So he's training with Dean. He has to have 40 hours with Dean, but it's going real well. And in the meantime, Tyler and Nick did a water rescue on Saturday and Josh did one today. So I'm, like I said before, I'm confident the crew that we have can handle it, compared to like me. But they, those three guys can all handle that boat. So
We're all getting boat time anyway.
yes, they are. They're all, so we have a staff right now. We'll see what happens. That's where we're at.
Any other comment? Good. Nobody on the computer? So we can jump right into the consent agenda. Discussion on that, or we?
I did add an item, 2E was for the Little Traverse Bay Foundation Ferry License Renewal. The Harbor Commission reviewed it and agreed to the same terms and conditions for 2 more years, 2023 and 2024. So if unless council wants a discussion on that, I put that in the consent agenda as well.
I got no issues. I'd make a motion to approve. Anybody want to talk about the ferry permit? Yeah, so we talked about it, the Harbor Commission. We were all fine with it. So
Makes sense.
we'll sneak that into the consent agenda. And we've got a motion to.
One second.
John's a second.
Jamie Melky.
Yes.
John Leo.
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
John Cops.
Yep.
Matt Lagira.
Yeah.
Motion carried.
And
It's the Hallmark camera channel discussion.
pop-up comment on the camera.
I'm almost there, sorry.
That's all right.
Did anybody see it last year?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fine. It's just a shot down Main Street of the tree.
Any comments on when we blew it over? Good, bad, or different?
I had a little trouble with the website trying to find it once, but
Right.
that was, I think, just my own.
User error?
Yes. Exactly.
Probably have a lot of Christmas.
I'll chalk that
trees.
up to my problem as well.
Okay.
If we're good.
So yeah, they, Hallmark Channel, placed their camera on the light pole in front of First Street Bakery, I believe, and they want to do the same thing again. It was after Thanksgiving through Christmas or through New Year's, and we generally have a lot of positive comments. There's one or two from people who had concerns about being monitored in public, but for the most part, there was no concerns and a lot of support for it. So they want to do the same thing again this year. I think the same hours, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., the same location, unless council has any different opinion or thoughts on the location or the hours.
It's just another reason to put our cute little town on the map.
Maybe you should work for the chamber.
That's her bitch.
The DEA's.
I know, I heard it somewhere before. I'm fine with it. It's just, a little publicity for the town.
Yeah, I mean, we've always thought of Harbor Springs as a hallmark area anyway. I mean, why not? I got no problem.
Do they know the dates?
It would be right after Thanksgiving until the end of the year.
Till the tree goes up till
I
the first
did.
of the year.
I actually invited them to come to our, I go, well, heck, if you're gonna do it, you might as well have it on and do the tree lighting and come. They haven't said no.
Wonderful. Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye.
Change it up a little.
Opposed? Haven't done one of those in a while.
I know.
All right, item 3B, the American Legion Veterans Riders Group wants to sell hot dogs, brats, bottled water from city parking lot across from the Legion in those first row of parking spaces. There's about 9 parking spaces there. And they also want to have a hot dog eating contest. And this is on the 4th of July from 11 a.m. to about 4 p.m. is when they would be setting up there. Generally, the staff, is supportive of it. However, all the directors looked at it and they did have some concerns about taking up all those parking spaces on 4th of July being it's the busiest day of the year. They threw out some alternatives we talked about. Potentially was either using a park like Marina Park, which doesn't get that much traffic, or using even the Legion's parking lot. I mean, I don't know why the Legion parking lot couldn't be used. But so that's the one concern, and Chief Knight can a little bit talk more about some of the safety and circulation issues he has with potentially taking up all those parking spots.
Yeah, and can I comment on?
Yeah, sure, yeah, you can.
And the reason we wanted the parking spots is because we're also riding in the parade. And when we get back, we need a place to park all of our bikes. And then we wanted to have our bikes lined up next to the hot dog stand with the flags and everything there. So our bikes aren't scattered all over the place after the parade, so we have a place to pull our bikes in and park.
So I wish you had come to me before this meeting. So one thing would be, because that intersection sucks on the 4th of July for many reasons. I think it's what you want to do is a great idea, but that we can't block that parking lot off. But in order to put the bikes, I wonder if you can talk to the lady with the glass across the street. There's like 4 or 6.
Where?
Boyer glass.
Boyer,
Kitty corner from the.
south. Oh, I don't, it's probably not on that picture.
Across from the post office.
Right.
Yeah.
Right across from the
Right here.
post office
It's right across Third Street from that.
to park the bikes. So we don't worry about the city parking lot, but the parking lot across the street is private. And they usually will block that off for one reason or the other. But then you still got the Legion's parking area to do the event or do whatever. You just block that off and the workers
Well,
don't park
yeah,
there.
well, would it be possible to just put the tent with the hot dog stands in like 2 spots right there? Like just on the corner there? 'Cause that's just way better than being buried in the back of the Legion. That's the whole thing,
Right.
And because our thought was, because we're
The
not.
problem is the traffic. The traffic in downtown Harbor on the 4th of July sucks. That, especially getting in and out of there. When the Drummond Corps comes in after the parade and does all their thing, that's when all the traffic is going out of here. It's a nightmare. It has been for years, and it's not getting any better around here. I'd love to see you guys do this. I'm just trying to figure out a good way to do it.
One of the traffic control foot traffic, though, just people walking right there.
Well,
I'm with you, like, I agree with you, I love the concept, that I don't know if you've been here for that corner,
Oh, yeah.
because we blocked,
Yeah, you guys know, I don't
we
know.
blocked State Street off right at that corner. So anybody on the west side of State Street has to use that corner, that's the only. corner
everybody
besides-
downtown goes through that intersection.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so then
yes.
what would you be thinking then? What?
Honestly, I'd like to see you do it on a different weekend.
Yeah.
Well, that was the whole thing, is to make money for the.
No, I
So, you're not gonna sell hot dogs
wholeheartedly,
and
no,
fries.
I know exactly what you're trying to do. It's just trying to do it after or around the parade. And that intersection is, it's,
Not a good spot.
no, it's a logistical nightmare.
So is there another place you would propose where you?
If
feel
you
good
were-
with this donut?
Can you sell it at the Legion parking lot? Can you sell?
Well,
The problem is it's in the back and it's not gonna be.
Roy, what are you trying, how are you gonna do the hot dogs? Do you have like a stand? Do you
Yeah,
have-
we're gonna do like just a little covered tent and then we're gonna have a big grill, huge.
So
Texas
the Lions Club, I think it was, or the Kiwanis Club, years ago, used to do it down at the park.
No.
Down by the New York or down by the
Zone
beach.
park there.
Zone, yes,
Not Zorn.
No.
Zorn, not
Zorn.
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 We can't do Zorn this year because of the art show, so Marina Park would have to be at O'Shea Park on the route.
So they used to do it down there and they did it. For hours.
Season jam,
Yeah, I mean, it was huge.
and I stored the hot dogs for them one year, and I mean, it was. I've never
So-
seen so many hot
I-
dogs.
I would recommend doing it down on Bay Street somewhere. Which we could wholeheartedly, because it used to be done. I remember going down there as a kid
Mhm.
for years.
You know, they used to do it in
Down
front
there.
of Wall Streets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the boathouse.
The boathouse.
Wow, the boathouse, but that's all fenced
That's all
off.
fenced,
And it just gets everybody away from that intersection.
So-
And then we may have to rethink about the hot dog eating contest thing, or maybe doing it down there.
Yeah, and we may not even do the hot dog eating contest, but it's more just brats, just more of a fundraiser to get
What
money.
about on the far side of the Harbor Master building? In that strip of land, is that city property? What about in there? So it wouldn't,
But
Take it.
willow trees.
yeah, it wouldn't take up the park itself, but move it to the other side of the Harbor Master building, because that's a big enough strip. of
Well, like those
land.
two parking spots we used to do for the
Food truck.
food trucks,
Right.
right there.
Just to let you know that the Catholic Church has they picked up where whoever had it down there, the last 2 years, they've had it right in front of the Catholic Church. They sell hot dogs right on this side,
and hamburgers.
hot dogs and hamburgers on this side, just to let you know too.
Yeah.
They sell it right in front of the church. They've done it the last 2 years on this side of the art festival.
So if we moved it down away from the art festival, it might do
Yeah.
better.
And if you're worried about, I'm like, in your corner, if you put it in your parking lot, you'll have a lot of foot traffic.
Well, and because I was the same one you guys had to say, other options, because the other thing is Wendy, cottage interiors, so we could have that parking lot. Too,
It'd be a more visible spot for you.
on the
Yes.
top of the hill.
Yeah.
Right.
That would work.
Or,
I don't know.
I don't know if you can talk to the post office.
I was just thinking about the post office parking lot.
That corner would be pretty.
Yeah, I'd
good.
love the post office, would be great, but I don't know.
Well, they're closed on the Fourth of July, right? So that might be worth approaching the
But
post
I'd
office.
have to go through them then.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally we.
Whatever you
require-
could do to keep it on property or in that corner would be perfect.
Is that in the cities right away, just the post
No.
office parking slots? No, okay, okay.
No,
So normally we do require some sort of permit for when people sell on private properties, but on Fourth of July, we've always I think, for a long time, just let people sell hot dogs and bottled water, stuff like that. So we normally don't ask for, have not required permits for people to sell food but in a typical situation, if this was any other day, if they were selling from the post office or
Right.
cottage interiors or any parking lot, they would be required to have a permit. But council has traditionally allowed this on Fourth of July because it's so busy.
Roy, can you work it out with the hair salon? And some different things where you guys could maybe get the parking lot?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking, if we can get that hair salon and cottage interiors.
get with Amy and those guys up there and
Yeah,
maybe just make that for the bikes.
I was
yeah.
gonna say, that would be big enough.
It would just make life,
No, yeah, this is the first time I've done this, so I don't, just.
no, well, and I mean, obviously, we'd all like to see it.
Absolutely.
But I know what a nightmare we have down there for traffic.
So if I get these places, do I have to still go through you guys if it's on private property
No,
or?
they're giving you the permission now.
Okay. I'll first, the post office would be great. I'll talk to those guys first, and then if not, I'll talk to Wendy.
I would work on taking our parking lot there, closing it off for the event, you know, like we've done in the past for the bands and different things like that. And then try to get the parking lot up above for the parade group, kind of thing.
One thing that we gotta get you back there too, is getting you back there is not as easy as it sounds. Like, let's say you're in the parade, you go down Main Street, you come back on Main Street, come up Toll. We keep Main Street closed for probably a good another, like usually it's around 1 o'clock, so like, you're not gonna be able to drive right back there. Yeah.
We will have to, you will,
Yeah, well,
you're gonna have to do what I do with the fire trucks. You're gonna have to go up, down the Lake Road, come down and come back down the hill.
You better get back in the parade.
Yeah, it's the parade around here is a logistical.
yeah, I mean, I've been there, but I've never participated in all this crazy stuff, so.
It used to go from Judd Street to the Hollywood gas station when I rode my bikes. What's that tell you? Now it goes from here to there. There are people lined up all the way around. It's crazy.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, so.
So, but I think if we can work on keeping it on property.
Well, no, you guys know the traffic situation.
So, yeah, that, what you're asking just won't feasibly work. But I think if you can keep it on property, I think what you want to do is perfect. My opinion.
It's a great idea.
And I guess, maybe if you can't work a deal with either the post office or the Wendy.
Wendy already said I could,
Oh,
she has no problem, I gotta talk to her.
I think it'd be fine if they went down to the Marina Park
Right.
as a secondary choice.
Yeah, I love Marina Park too, if that was an option.
Yeah, Rachel said that there's nothing booked there for 4th of July, so.
From a pure revenue standpoint on your side, Marina Park is probably the.
Well, and the only reason I'm thinking Marina Park is because you said that Holy Childhood is doing something, so if we're both right there, it'd be nice if, we're further away,
Yep.
Yeah, there's enough people.
So I'd work on that in the next couple of days. If it doesn't work on property, get with Rachel probably and work out the details about Marina Park.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So who would I have talked to in Marina Park?
Rachel Boone, she's our Parks Director. So if you talk to Kyle anyway, he can set you up if you guys talk about logistics. he can
Okay,
set you up.
yeah, 'cause that would be, I'd like that, just because we're not competing on what,
Yep.
Because they picked up when, wasn't the Outdoorsman Club or something that used to do it too? They picked up when they did like 2 years where they didn't do it. And then, I think it's the Nice Columbus picked it up.
Oh, yeah.
And they've done real well the last couple of years.
yeah, and that's why they had a few people telling me that I should consider doing that, because they said they used to do that, but nobody does it anymore. Nobody said anything about Holy Childhood. They said, nobody does hot dogs and breads anymore, so. So I said, oh, okay, well,
Nope.
all right,
No, it's a perfect thing to do. So, yeah.
okay, and I'll jump no more on that, yeah. Cool, thanks, you guys.
Good luck.
Okay, item 3C, the city charter amendments resolution. So the city's had a charter committee, which has been Mayor, Councilmember John Leo, Jim Raymer, Nick Whitaker, and I since late in 2019, early 2020. We're working on amendments to the charter that for provisions that are either outdated or don't conform with state law. So there are either things that, we just don't do in practice anymore, like our budgeting. We go through the budgeting process in November and December. The charter calls for it to happen in September. It just doesn't make sense with.
Justice of the peace and just odd things like
Justice
that.
Health Department.
Yeah, so Jim has been talking back and forth with the Attorney General's office for a long time now, and they finally finalized the language that needs to be on the ballot. And as you can C, there's a lot, as you can tell in your packet, there's a lot of pages of ballot. There's several proposals. I think about, was it 10 or so proposals and a lot of language that you have. You have to include all the stricken out language, all the new language that you added, and then you have to have your question. So in each specific edit to the charter, it's a yes or no question. So you can't just say, do you accept all of these changes or not? You have to take each provision as itself. So in order to go forward this process, to get it on the ballot, we need to pass a resolution that we will send, the city clerk will send off to the state. But the question we have really is, now that we're here, should we put it on the ballot for November 7th, which is general election? And we may have something else on the ballot as well. Or do we do it in a special election in early 2024 sometime? Because it's gonna be the ballot's gonna be long and make us still figuring out how the ballot will look with this many questions.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Because you've all voted, you come in and you get your ballot, they're numeric, it's a very tight thing. Well, I'm gonna have to hand you 11 pages for one ballot. So
Really?
when you walk back to vote, you got your homework to do.
Oh,
So in my standpoint, I'd prefer to have it kind of a standalone type thing. But we can make it happen, whatever we decide.
Do we have to get a certain amount of the voters in order to make it pass? Or is it just based on how many people vote?
I'd have to read that language I just got from Jim, but I'd say that we have to have a certain amount of the voters that vote.
With a
I
vote,
don't know
okay.
that it has to be the certain amount
Like
of,
it doesn't have to
the-
be 60% of the electorate.
well, yeah, because we'll never get that regardless.
Well, yeah, especially in a special election, they're not gonna, they don't care. So it's not gonna be a big deal to them. So that would just be my only concern.
Right, if we did it in the spring of 2024, when, you know.
Because
we don't
most of
have a
this is
big
just
turnout, but-
updating
This is just housekeeping.
decades old
It's just-
verbiage.
it's
Yes.
just housekeeping.
It's housekeeping.
Yeah,
It is housekeeping, but explaining it doesn't, to the public when they see these long convoluted.
So special election would be when, like
Yeah.
February, March?
I think the dates are March and May. I'd have to find for sure, but they tightened down on that. There used to be, you could call one whenever you wanted. Now the state has X amount of days per year.
It's our
certain days.
presidential election, is it this year?
And
There's nothing on the ballot for this fall, is there?
There's 2 council seats, and then there may be, in the next agenda item, we may have something else on the ballot. For November.
School, probably have something.
yeah, that would probably be something we'd stick on the school election in the spring, if that was the case. It might give us a little more time for people to figure out what they're doing when they get here. Because it's gonna be quite a dramatic change from what they're used to.
Could you split it and put like some on in November and then do the other ones?
That's not a bad idea. Is it possible to split them up a little bit? Jim?
You could do that.
I mean,
They're independent decisions, so whatever you split, you could implement the ones that pass and then aggregate them after the
You could
fact.
divide it up.
That's not a bad idea.
It would be easier.
Well, yeah, so you don't have
have.
8 or 10 things all in one thing.
yeah.
Ideally, from my standpoint, it would be easiest to have it so that it would fit on whatever we pick out of there. Say we had 2 councils members. Then we could pick 2 or 3 of the proposals, put on the front, put 4 or 5 on the back, so you still only had one ballot.
One piece.
And do the remainder.
And do the remainder on a special election.
But on the other hand, I'd rather just
Get it
bite the bullet and be done with it. But
Yeah,
that's,
it's also,
that's a good idea.
there's also the education campaign part, like,
Right.
does it make more sense to have a education, like trying to educate the public about what we're doing over a prolonged period of time, or is it better to have it just a few months and all one and done? So.
Well, that can go either way.
They can.
Can
You get too many, you get people too long to think about it or not enough time.
Most of them are just outdated stuff that we don't do anyway. I mean, when you read them. Can you like run something in the paper that's a synopsis, or do you have to give the actual ballot? Like print all that in the paper when you do an education? Or
We
can you,
would just do a summary
you can just do
synopsis,
a
yeah.
summary like.
Basically like
beginning-
this, a little
yeah,
more detail than
beginning.
that. But
Of course, then it would be on the website.
Right, so somebody could go back and
The
really look
synopsis
at all
would
of it.
direct them
if
to
they
the
want.
website to read the whole resolution.
And if somebody wanted to come in and pick up a printed copy, they could. I'm inclined to say whatever.
I was gonna say
Makes more
whatever.
sense.
Whatever works
Yeah.
for them.
And it's your choice.
I would just soon get it done and over
I
with,
just-
but I mean,
Myself. I don't wanna be-
Well, is this resolution written to the point where it's got dates of it?
well, if we,
May
yes,
24th?
so what we would have to do is just, if you want to choose maybe the March or the May,
Yeah, we just, I
And you
think
fill
we
in
come
the
back with a new resolution.
yeah.
Just even part of a consent agenda in the future, since we've already gone through these hoops.
Make sure of the date and when you have to include in the resolution when it would be presented, so we need to get that date set.
Well, if everybody's on board with getting this on a ballot, I guess my first thing we'll do is I'll get a hold of the county and find out what they want to do or what they recommend we do, because it's ultimately going to affect them as well. But we can do either. We can do it all in one shot in November. We can break it up to two elections next year, or I don't know.
I think we just need to get it done. So whatever you recommend, or whether we split it up or do it all in one in March.
I guess I'd have to see what the font, they're very specific about the font size on the
I
ballot,
was just gonna ask that.
how much spacing between them. So
Are
how
you
much
making
I could
different
actually jam on
colors?
the ballot, I'm not positive yet.
Right.
But once we can get it passed, then I can send it to the county. They have to review it. It goes on to the state again after the attorney general already approved it. Then it goes to the state election commission. They approve it.
So I think we're all in agreement to the resolution. It's just a matter of how you're gonna split it or not.
Right. And it might, with these conversations with the county and the state, it might become clear that I only have one option. So, but I don't know that yet.
But it sounds like we all agree that we should do this.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
All right, so then Nick will go
Yeah.
do some investigating and we'll bring it back for approval on a date.
Yeah, I can get some of the, well, the state, I don't know how quickly that will happen, but the county, I can have information in a week. And we can bring it back.
Just so we know, if this is not adopted tonight, you will probably not be able to get it on the November ballot this year. So I think the decision, if we're deferring tonight, it will be in the spring before it goes on, so.
Yeah, that's true.
They have very specific timeframes. It has to go to the governor. The governor has to approve it. That's a process.
Really.
Drive it down to Torchlight, Elgrand.
Do you want to make it happen in November?
My first instinct would be to not try to push it through till November, so we have more time to get it out in public, do some explaining it at least a little bit, and put it on the next
This
first
springtime.
one in 2024.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and again,
that's
it's
fine.
bookie, there's no ramifications, it's just.
I mean, these are 50-year-old changes.
I was gonna say,
but I
we've
mean, it
been.
can wait a couple more
we've been
months.
wrong. I think that's,
Okay.
I'm good.
Oh, we've already been at it for what, 4 years?
Research your thing and we'll
Yeah.
set it up for March.
Okay.
Yeah, look at March.
Thank you for all your work.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, Jim's put a lot into this too. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, 3D, Jervis B. Webb lease discussion. So Jervis B. Webb, they own the Daifuku building by the Harbor Springs Airport, and they would like to purchase the land that the building sits on. And the building sits on both county and city-owned land. And we leased out the portion to Webb when it was done control engineering back in 1985. The entire parcel that they're looking to purchase is about 5.5 acres. So the lease with Jervis Webb contains conditions and procedures that the city has to follow should Webb want to purchase that land. One of those provisions is the city must adhere to the city charter. So what that means is council has to put this on the ballot, then 3/5 or 60% of the electorate must vote in favor of selling the land and then the land would be auctioned off going to the highest bidder. However, the lease agreement with Webb also states that they can match essentially the highest bidder and purchase it that way as well. So if they are outbidded, they're allowed to match that bid. That lease also calls for an appraisal of the land by Webb and the city, and then the city, Webb would purchase that at the average of that price or the auction price, whichever is higher. Section 15 of the lease agreement also has some other language. What's not clear really is what happens if this fails and let's say it goes to the public to vote and 60% vote against it, right? So it fails the initiative, what happens then? So that's not clear in the charter, but something we can discuss later. And I believe Mike Farley, who's with Jervis B. Webb, I've asked him to join just in case council had questions about, because obviously Jervis B. Webb wants to purchase it. Obviously Daifuku is no longer there, so what do they want to do with the building? I know I'm sure council would have some questions about that. What could go on that space? It's 5.5 acres. Their appraisal has come back at $420,000 for the 5.5 acre lot. We haven't done our appraisal yet. I'm kind of waiting to get direction input from council before we go forward on that. So I guess this is an opportunity to ask questions. If you have questions for Jim and I, we will probably go into closed session afterwards to discuss a legal memo from Jim Raymer about this issue.
And yes, this is Mike Farley, and I can put myself on video if you'd like me to do that, but I'm the general counsel for Jervis B. Webb Company, and I'm in the corporate headquarter office in the Detroit area in Novi. So sure, I can either say one or two things or certainly try to answer any questions that you may have.
We're going to take some public comment if there is any, and probably some discussion, and we'll have some questions for you in a minute.
Yep.
All right. Any public comment? Yeah, we got a couple. Carol, ladies first.
Okay, thanks.
Maybe yes.
Hi, I'm Bill Mulder, 372 West Summit Street. Speaking as resident and planning commissioner, but not on behalf of the planning commission, of course. So this idea could be very promising if it would help generate some jobs. And we talked the other night at our joint meeting about the desire to create some year-round jobs that would be non-tourist related. And if that's the case, and if Mr. Farley and the company can, tell us that their acquisition of this property would help them sell the building to a going concern that would create some jobs, then I'm really interested. And I think it could be very promising for us. I don't have any better ideas offhand on how to generate 15, 25, 35 year-round jobs in our area. In fact, if a company came to us and said, hey, we'd like to do light manufacturing or assembly in the general area, we need a little bit of help from you, we'd be ecstatic. And so I'm looking forward to hearing what the company has to say about how the acquisition of our property could help them sell this to a company that would create some jobs. The other part of the equation, of course, $350,000 or $450,000 one time would be very helpful for some of our infrastructure projects. And I don't think the residents of Harbor Springs would miss that property. We haven't had the use of it for more than 40 years, and it's not so great for recreation or anything else that I can tell. So that could be very interesting to me. I have a couple concerns. One is the company would need to give us a pretty convincing argument about their ability to sell it to somebody who would create some jobs. Two, we might want to set a healthy minimum in the auction process if we got that far to make sure that we're not giving away the property for something less than we would want to. I think that's called a reserve, at least in the exotic car auction business. And we want to be respectful of what Little Traverse Township feels about it, because we don't want to do anything that would be counter to their land use plan or their plans down there at all. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And that last part, Bill Dillon has been looped in on these conversations. Sorry.
Carol Winter, 141 Snyder Street. I
certainly agree with what Bill said, but I'm also wondering if that could be a site for affordable housing.
Okay. Anyone else?
This is the parcel in question, highlighted in yellow. Above it is, most of the building, as you can see, is in the county's county property, but this edge of the building right here, and then the parking lots and this field, this grass area is the city's.
Is the cities and the townships, is it a total of 5.5 acres or just our property?
Just the yellow is 5.5, and it's about another 5 acres for the county's part.
Your township.
And it's adjacent to over 100 acres that we own out there, if my math was right, when I looked it up today.
Airport property,
Airport.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that the big piece is 92.4 acres, like, that's what I saw. And then we have a 28 acre and a 4 acre. And I'm hesitant to let city property go. I think that's a piece of property that, not just that, the bigger piece has a lot of potential. And
Or something
hesitant-
other than manufacturing.
I'm always hesitant to let a piece of city property go myself. That's just my own. Because that's township, the little park is township, what I looked up is right.
Yeah.
And then county, and then
That's the
county
road
is
park.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and that could be a really pivotal corner for something at some point.
I remember a year or two ago, Gypsy Vodka, High Spirits.
Right.
Yeah, they came to look at that parcel that was right next, the city parcel right next to that on the other side. On the west. So there's some interest from different people.
It's a big piece of property. I mean, the whole thing is a nice big piece of property.
Did Bill Dome give you any indication of what their thoughts were on it?
He seemed, I won't speak on his behalf, but it generally seemed generally supportive of, whatever needs to happen there, yeah.
Right.
Just because it's been leased already in use for this, and it's not taken away from any other use.
Yes, and I saw in the report, the zoning on it, though, it's kind of funky, or future zoning, it's recreation, quasi recreation or something.
Well, right now, the rest of that property around there is forest, field and forest, forest and
Yeah.
farm, whatever FF is, and R1, which is crazy. But that's what it is. That's what the airport zoning is.
Yeah, residential farm forest.
Farm forest, thank you. Yeah, that's what all the rest of our properties out there are. And there's always potential to change the zone. I mean, that isn't set in stone. So I'm just always hesitant to let go of any city property. That's the problem.
Yeah, I'd rather see that become affordable housing than commercial. Commercial in West Traverse Township is all moved west. Out of there. And given they've just spent a pile of money to rebuild their plant down in Boyne City, I'm just curious as to what their thoughts are.
Mr. Farley, any ideas what you guys want to do with that property?
Well, what we would prefer to do is to exercise our option to purchase the property both from the city and the county, and then to market it essentially as or for a use that's very similar to what's there now. We think light manufacturing makes the most sense given that current facility. So I think that would be our target audience.
So basically you resell the property
Yes.
or lease it out.
I think we would prefer to sell it.
So I guess I should also clarify is that the other option is let's say, they didn't exercise their option to purchase, or they didn't purchase it. The city would have to either buy the property, the portion that it's built upon, so the building, right? We'd have to pay for the building, or they would give it back to the city in its original condition, which is taking down that building. So it for them, and I might not gonna speak on behalf of the company, but in my head, it makes more sense for them just to purchase it from their perspective, because they don't have to knock it down or clean it up, et cetera. So that would probably could end up being more expensive for them.
Yes, that's correct.
And
And
the
we have
lease-
retained Jack Van Treese to help us sell the property, but he really hasn't done much because we understand we need the approvals both from the city and the county and of course the city voters.
When is the lease out?
It comes up pretty in 2025.
Yeah, November of 2025. Our lease with the county extends another, 40 years or something like that, 2064, I think.
So
At least
the
with the-
county or the township?
County.
County.
The county.
The county?
So the county owns that land. It's in the township, but the county owns that land.
Or the
Yes,
office, part of the factory part? Really?
Up above what?
Oh, this-
Wait, we're looking at
Everything,
up above.
this is what they,
That's county.
we own this yellow.
The county owns everything north of what we own.
Yes,
With 40 years.
And the real reason that the city property ever became involved is because Control Engineering then wanted to expand their operations. And so they needed that space south of the west structure there.
Right.
And that's what they built. But so it extended into that area that the city owns. And that's what generated the city's lease of the land to them, subject to an option to purchase.
So any decision made by the voters or by the council or both of them, I mean, this all has to work hand in hand with the county as well.
yes. And I think the county is generally supportive of our purchase of the property.
Of course they are.
Well, the county has a lot more land to plan on this.
Our lease with the county was basically 100 years, and our lease with the city started in 1985.
But it's sitting empty now, am I right?
Yes, it's
It's sitting
a,
empty now.
is that correct, Mike? There's no operations left at Daifuku, the building?
Correct. We have moved all operations from that building into the new facility that we built in Boyne City.
Interesting.
Go ahead, Bill.
Got one more piece of information. I'm Tim Mulder again. If council thinks the city might be interested at some point in the future in doing something related to housing on some property around the airport, looks like there are some much more promising parcels on the other side of the runway. You know, this one is, it'd be right up against an industrial operation, it'd be right off the runway, and it would have potentially difficult access to it. So if council is ever thinking about something related to housing, might make sense to sit down with Victor and take a look at some of those other parcels, which really look quite promising and favorable.
Actually, Bill, I disagree with you there.
Okay, great.
Well, only because we just worked on an $8 million house next door to it.
Yes.
And if this property comes up for sale on the auction block,
That's what's gonna
I can guarantee
happen.
those guys will buy it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It'll go up for a big auction, because all those lots are sold. I also know a few guys that'd be interested in a parcel like this to put affordable housing in for guys in their 30s and 40s that'd like to live around here and work, which we have no place around here right now to do. So,
Mike, I don't know if you know the answer to this, and I don't know if anyone here knows it, but, or Jim, but this big green space on the western part of the parcel, why was that included potentially in the lease? Because it just seems like there's no
It's a
parking lot
non-shade.
there. Yeah, and I'm, is there a septic, or is there anything like that there? Or I doubt it, but,
I don't know the answer to that.
okay.
Because it's a funny.
It's a funny, yeah, it's just funny,
It's a
funny
non-shade.
issue, yeah.
It's funny shaped parcel to begin with.
I'm just wondering if there's anything there that would prevent something being built on that portion.
Divided off.
Yeah.
yeah. I think we got some discussion here.
Yeah.
I'm not up for giving up city property right at the moment. Not here. I mean,
No.
all the commercial I mean, I'm in the trade, so all the commercial things going on around here are all going south. There's nobody looking to develop commercial area in here. It's all small end things. All these guys, this company included, they're all building Point City, East Shore. They're all buying up big farmlands. The stuff's all going south. And even if they were to sell this to somebody, who's gonna work it? Hell, there's no place around here for anybody to work, to live.
Existing
I mean,
companies that want to hire.
Mom and pop shops around here are all closing up because they can't find anybody to work. So I think we should put this on hold and discuss it a little bit.
We do have a legal memo from Jim Raymer that we should probably go into a closed session and discuss.
What we would prefer to do, and I know it's your decision, is to put this on the November 7 ballot for voters.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. All right, well, I don't think there's any more discussion we can do in open session.
Right.
We should probably, is there anything we need to?
About this, no, I would just really quick, just a couple updates in the closed city manager report, and then we can go to maybe closed session on this. We are hiring DDA director. Margaret Moose had put in her resignation, and so that's out there. We did receive also $50,000 donation for the skate park from the Off-Field Foundation, and we also received $50,000 for the boardwalk from the Van Andel Foundation. So those are two big donations. We're above $400,000 at the skate park and getting closer to our goal, well above $500,000 for the boardwalk. So making progress. And so I don't know, John, if you just want to update on the boardwalk really quick.
Boardwalk is moving along. We will have the platform area, the upper area will be open for the 4th of July. We're not 100% sure right now if we will have it open to pedestrian all the way up and down via county inspections and stuff like that by the 4th. We've been waiting on some handrail things, so we're not sure. Most of the majority of the hand railing is in, but not enough to do the entire walk. So we know we'll have the upper part open, and just not 100% sure right now if we'll have it all open, given inspections and final approvals on things. So we're shooting for it. We're gonna be close. So we'll see how things shake out.
It's looking really good.
So handrails will start going up tomorrow. So
Good.
So we'll see.
And the last update is several of the trees on M119 have gone in, the plantings, the evergreens and black gum. So I think we're just waiting on the crab apples to go in. We had to change the color of the tree.
This is in front of Great Bluff.
Yeah, they left. So that should be done in probably the next few weeks when those trees come in, should be finished. And then when the skate park's done, of course, we'll put the rest of the trees in.
It looks like they're wrapping up the culvert work.
Yes, it looks like it, but I don't want to say, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of that.
I know, but they're paving the other side now, so the big work is.
And we walked in from the tennis courts a couple of days ago, and that looks like they're done.
Everything on the south side of the road is done, I know. I don't know how much more they'll have to do on the north side, but yeah, with their paving and everything going on, besides cleaning up the park, I think majority of their major infrastructure work is complete.
Well, they were trucking out gravel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're in the cleanup mode now, so. Yeah. I know, hats off to them. Whether it was, that major thing was really needed or not, one way or the other, but I mean, they've done a pretty good job as far as keeping things flowing, so.
It's actually made the street much quieter. I mean, it's amazing the difference it made. It really did, because people have found other routes.
Oh, right.
And then we also have these big pauses in between where you can talk on the porch while we stop. It's been very interesting, actually. It has quieted things down a lot down here.
Enjoy a lot of last.
No, I think the traffic light was a learning curve for a lot of people, but I think it's worked out. So.
Yeah.
So it hasn't gone all that bad. We've been able to sneak through there with emergency vehicles when needed, so not all bad.
All right. So unless council has anything, I think we can go, Jim, if you can give us language for closed session.
Okay, we would need a motion from a council person to meet in closed session under section 8H of the Open Meetings Act, specifically to consider the written opinion of the city attorney as to the control engineering lease agreement, said written opinion being exempt from disclosure by the Freedom of Information Act, section 13(1)H. So a motion like that.
I will make said motion.
Second.
John Neal,
Yes.
John Cox,
Yes.
Matt O'Gara,
Yes.
Nancy Rondell.
Yes.
And Jamie Melky.
Yes.
Okay, we're in closed session at 7:49.
Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, guys.
I'm,
Oh, yes,
No.
I don't
Wow.
Just keep it.
all right, we are closing out the Zoom.
this is Mike Farley. I'm signing off, but
Okay.
thank you very much for your consideration of our proposal to exercise our option. And Victor, please let me know if you need any further information. I'm happy to do whatever I can, including come up there and meet with anyone. But thank you all very much.